Following two recent shark attacks along the South African coast, the Western Cape coast to be specific, I'm joined on the line by shark spotters Dr. Alison Koch, and she's going to answer some of our questions on these beautiful but sometimes dangerous creatures. Dr. Koch, thanks so much for joining us.
It's a great pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Now, as I mentioned, we have reported on two recent shark attacks along the Western Cape coast. Can you give us an indication of how rare or how common an occurrence these are?
It is an unusual event, but it's not unheard of. And what's most likely the case is that there's favorable conditions along that stretch of coast, and that may be attracting sharks to the area temporarily, which has resulted in an increased chance of encountering people, particularly because it's also school holidays. So the combination of the two is most likely contributing to an increased chance in encounter rates between people and sharks.
Now, when you talk about these conditions, are we referring to food, water temperature? What are these types of conditions?
Probably a combination of all of the above. At the moment, we've got the annual sardine run happening, which happens further up the east coast. But it is very possible that the favorable conditions for that may be extending more south. And this event attracts a lot of predators. It's also very possible the predators are moving through that area to get to the sardine run. And so it could be a combination of water conditions, but probably more prey availability. So if there's large schools of fish, those are being followed by other predators such as seals and dolphins. And altogether, it just means that there's an abundance of food in that particular area.
Now, both of these recent attacks either involved somebody on a surfboard or somebody on a bodyboard. And it seems that when we hear about shark attacks, it's usually got to do with a surfer.
Surfers are a water user group that spend a lot of hours in the ocean. So they're spending a lot of time out there, and they're also generally swimming further out and being in deeper waters. And because of that behavior, it means that there's an increased likelihood of encountering a shark. So although the sharks can come close inshore, most of the time they're patrolling in the deeper waters. And because the surfers are out there for such long periods of time, their chances are just higher of encountering one. So unfortunately, it just comes down to a numbers game.
Many holiday makers probably want you to answer is, just how safe am I when I am in the water, and how far is too far when it comes to mitigating my risk of a shark attack?
Look, last year in 2004, worldwide, there were 72 shark bites, and 2 of those occurred in South Africa. On average, we have less than 5 shark bites per year. So the statistics are very, very low, given the amount of people spending so much time in the water. Some years it can be lower and some years it can be higher, all about the encounter rate between people and sharks. But what people can really look out for is each individual makes the decision to go into the ocean, and staying in groups is a very important thing, because not only does it increase your vigilance to detecting sharks, but also if something does happen, you've got people close by that can help you in an emergency situation. And there are visual cues that people can actually look for before entering the ocean to decide for themselves whether the risk might be higher than normal. And that could be the presence of bait fish, schools of anchovy or sardine or any other smaller species of fish, because those are going to attract larger fish and sharks to the area as well. Birds feeding, dolphins feeding, these are all very visual cues that people can use to determine whether the risk might be a little bit higher. And then, of course, sharks are ambush predators. They use the low light and dirty waters to surprise their natural prey, and they may use these tactics when encountering people as well. And so people should try and avoid those kind of conditions, which puts them at a disadvantage to seeing approaching sharks.
Can you give us an indication of South Africa's shark population? I mean, how many sharks do we have along our coast?
Well, it's really important to remember that we've got over 100 species of shark in South Africa. We've got an incredible biodiversity of animals. Only 3 of these are really considered to be dangerous to people, and that is the great white, the tiger shark, and the bull shark. In terms of the white shark numbers, South Africa's population is estimated to be just under 2,000 animals. And then we don't know the exact numbers for bull sharks and tiger sharks, but those populations are likely higher than the white sharks. So we've got a coastline that is really an attractive area for predators, and this is actually a good sign in terms of the health of our ecosystem.
Now, we know that sharks are vitally important to our ocean. Could you tell us why, and could you give us an indication of why shark conservation is so important?
This is such a fantastic question. We get that question all of the time, and what's important to remember is that large sharks particularly sit at the top of the food chain. And because of that, they predate on a range of species, from fish, other species of shark, to dolphins and to seals. And so they have the influence on all of these species in two ways. The first is directly by affecting the actual numbers of these prey species. And then secondly, they actually also affect the behavior of these prey species. And so in this way, they have an impact on the structure and the function of local ecosystems. And research shows that where there are abundant shark populations, the reefs and the ecosystems are healthier and they're more biodiverse. And so it's really important, if we want to have an ocean that functions healthy, is biodiverse, and is the place that we all love to visit, sharks are a crucial part of keeping that system healthy.
Before you go, could you tell us a little bit more about Shark Spotters and how we can interact with you either via a website or social media?
Shark Spotters is in its 10th year of operation in Cape Town, and we've had over 2,000 shark sightings over the last 10 years at 8 of our beaches. We operate a detection system, so when there's a large shark close to swimmers and close to surfers, we sound an alarm and we get people out of the way until the shark moves on. So people in Cape Town can chat to our spotters. We are in operation all through the year, from sunrise to sunset. And we also have an education center on Muizenberg Beach. People can collect more information and come and chat to us at any time. And our website, they can follow us on sharkspotters.org.za.
Thank you so much for speaking to us today.